All right, moving on to 6.0, reports and action items from executive session. Do I hear a motion to approve 26 certified recommendations for the 2021-2022 school year?
Madam Chair, I move that the board approve 26 certified recommendations for the 2021-2022 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And the motion carries. Do I hear a motion to approve 10 administrative recommendations for the 2021-2022 school year?
Madam Chair, I move that the board approve 10 administrative recommendations for the 2021-2022 school year.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. Is there any discussion? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve a budget increase for the new Lexington Middle School replacement facility?
Madam Chair, I move that the board increase the budget for the new Lexington Middle School replacement facility by $5 million from $53 million to $58 million for the off-site road improvements on Old Cherokee Road required by the South Carolina Department of Transportation and the Office of School Facilities at the South Carolina Department of Education. This will be funded through using the 2018 referendum bond premium funds.
Thank you, Dr. Powers. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Oswald. And I would like to mention that Dr. Kyle Guyton, in a recusal dated December 18th, 2018, recused himself from all votes and deliberations regarding the purchase of property for the relocation of Lexington Middle School. And so therefore, Dr. Guyton will not participate in this discussion or the vote. All right, is there any discussion, board? Mr. Salters, would you like to walk us through this?
Sure, be glad to. Let's see. Oh, okay. So this budget adjustment is, again, for the Lexington Middle School relocation, now named Lakeside Middle School. And so just to reorient everyone, this is the property on Old Cherokee Road. The school site is under construction, and the road improvements will actually encompass about a mile of this road and utility movement relocations. Currently, there is a federal, I think it's Federal Highway Safety Project that's ongoing right now, where Catawba Trail is going to be lined up with a new curve in the road up here, and this intersection will be corrected, and that signal will be moved down, and so this road will kind of flow straight on through to Catawba. And so our portion of the road work will begin kind of in this area and end at the North Lake intersection down here at that big intersection. And so just to remind you, this is a general site layout. We have two entrances to the site. North Lake Drive would be up here on the northern portion of the screen. This is a service and bus loop that will come around the back of the facility. And then the parent drop-off, we have the long stacking loop that you're familiar with that will come in and then come back out to Old Cherokee. And this intersection will actually be a signalized intersection at that location. So we'll be in that's part of this package. And this is a kind of a high-level view of the road improvements. Essentially what's going to happen is there's going to be a what's called a through lane installed. The road will be widened, so it's basically 3 lanes all the way through, and that middle lane will turn into a turn lane at various locations through the course of this road improvement zone. And so what that's going to allow is for much safer travel on Old Cherokee Road, because frequently now what happens is folks stop to turn into businesses along this roadway, causing backups, and there's some fairly frequent accidents that happen there along that road because of those stops. So this through lane will allow that traffic to move into those lanes and then let the other traffic continue on freely through. So original project budget was $53 million. The adjustments for this off-site road work is around $5 million. Total budget would be roughly $58 million. And that, as I mentioned, these budgets include contingency amounts as well as some allowance amounts, and any of those unused amounts will be returned to the district. And so we anticipate seeing some savings at the end of these projects. The additional budget that we're recommending would come from approximately $22.7 million in bond premium and interest earnings that we've received to date on our 2018 bond referendum sale. We've had several large premium amounts that were given to us as related to our outstanding credit rating when we did the bond sales, and these bond premiums, one of the uses of those is to return that into the projects and address additional budget needs for the projects listed on the referendum. So this fits that need nicely. Just wanted to give you kind of a point of information related to some of our upcoming capital expenditures. You know, with the construction market the way it is, I think it's good to set your eyes on the future. And so we we do have two large projects left in the 2018 referendum, and those are the River Bluff Area Elementary School and the White Knoll Area Elementary School. We're still looking for property with the River Bluff School. The budget for that school is a little bit lower because it was originally supposed to start earlier in the program. And so, but again, we're still identifying property to build that facility. We do need to purchase that property. That's the next bullet there. And then we also have a device refresh that we'll be coming up on approximately 2024-25, student device refresh. I don't have an amount there listed at this point because you know, we're a ways out from that. There are a number of factors that will influence the cost of that. One of those being the grade levels that we choose to refresh devices. It's currently, you know, we went down to you know, K through 12. And so we'll make a decision leading up to that as to whether we keep the devices at those lower grade levels at that 1-to-1 density or scale that back. Additionally, we'll also consider the type of device that we refresh with. Right now, our high school students have a MacBook, and you know, there may be some other options to look at that would save on cost. So additionally, that has come up for potential use of some of the ESSER 3 money that is now available, and that funding goes out to September of 24. So it's possible that we might be able to use some of that federal funding for the refresh. If you recall, we did use some of the early federal money to help expand our technology rollout and fill in some gaps to get to 1-to-1 this past year during the early stages of COVID pandemic. So additionally, we have upcoming our Gilbert and Pelion Early Childhood Centers. We're still working on the scopes of those and the budgets. Of course, we do have some money in the referendum to do some demo work at each of those facilities. That would be the old Gilbert Elementary School and the old Pelion Middle School locations. But the additional reworking of those to turn them into early childhood centers, we still working on those budgets. We have some HVAC projects that weren't originally funded in the 18 referendum. If you recall, the original referendum was $393 million, and we scaled that back considerably to the 365, and much of that was scaled back was the HVAC work, and that was incorporated kind of into some of our ongoing capital funding that we get each year to earmark that for that purpose. And so it's roughly $2 to $3 million a year. It could be, you know, higher on a given year, but that's typically what we've seen. That also has some potential for ESSER money, because obviously one of the components of that federal funding is the ability to address indoor air quality in your classrooms. We currently have about $7.6 million in our capital fund. And then we anticipate this fall, we do a installment purchase revenue bond, IPRB, payment sale each fall to make our IPRB payments throughout the course of the year. And as part of that payment, each year we have an amount of money that comes in with that sale that we use for these ongoing capital needs. And so we anticipate that being around $6.5 million this fall. That would be another influx of money. And we had intended initially on our debt schedule when we rolled out the referendum to increase the overall debt service to 99 mills to pay for the $365 million borrow that we've done. And due to the bond premium and the market and other conditions, the bond market has been really favorable, obviously. We have been able to maintain our millage value at 90 mills, which was where it was at the beginning of the referendum. So we haven't increased our millage at all on the debt service side, and are still, targeting to be able to make payments and so forth. So that's been a really favorable aspect of our capital funding at this point. So, and we're not recommending, again, for 2021, we're not recommending a millage increase as well. So 3 years into the program, not having raised mills is, and done a large amount of the work in the program is really a good thing to be able to talk about. So those are kind of the things that we have, a kind of a snapshot of the the overall budget need, and then maybe a little more detail related to the capital expenditures, just so you have a perspective on the use of that bond premium.
I'd have some comments and some questions for the board. I know it wasn't mentioned in there, of that 58 million, 11 million is for on-site work to get the school ready. Prior to last week, did anyone up here know that the cost of site work at that site was $11 million? No? Okay. Has anyone on this board reviewed any contracts for referendum projects that detail a start date, completion date, cost of site work or road improvements? Okay. Well, I was gonna say, we wouldn't be here discussing this $5 million road improvement or ignoring the fact that this is only one of several projects that are behind schedule if the board actually did their job and reviewed bids, contracts, change orders, and other things for bond referendum projects. I've taken the time to meet with Mr. Salters, and he's been gracious in providing me documents and explanations. In return, I've sent email after email to this board telling them how we need to be more involved in this bond referendum. I've explained how other boards are provided detailed written reports each month that give a breakdown of building cost, site work cost, and change order information. In addition, some boards even require approval of change orders. Not only is this board not made aware of change orders, we don't even know the amount of the change orders. There were over $640,000 in approved change orders at Centerville, one of which included changing the color of the mortar at a cost of $16,000. And there is a $25,000 custom mural budgeted for Lakeside Middle School. This school was supposed to open in 3 months. Instead, we're voting on a year's worth of road improvements that are over budget. I'm just wondering why everyone is content with a slideshow that shows a few pictures each month and a one-page budget report when the voters have trusted us with $365 million in projects.
Ms. Garris, I was just going to ask you, just so we're comparing apples and apples, the districts that you refer to that require approval of change orders and detailed reports, have they also received substantial bond premium refunds like we have? And do they have the excellent credit rating that we have? And have most of their projects come in under budget? And I just want to make sure we have context so that when we're comparing ourselves to the practices of other districts, that we know exactly what we're looking at.
I'll be glad to find that out for you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions for Mr. Salters?
Is the timeline a year for the road improvements?
We anticipate opening the school in August of 22. So we've given the contractor basically until June of next year, because we have to have everything approved by OSF and the State Department of Education.
Okay.
We're in a situation here where the building is going to be completed probably in the February to March timeframe, and then we'll finish up punch lists and things like that. And so we could put a more urgent timeline on the road, but it would cost you more dollars to do that. It's a very complicated project, and to put a 6-month time frame on it would just increase the cost, and more than likely scare away bidders.
Mr. Salters, would you go back to the slide that shows the stretch of Old Cherokee?
That one? Or
Yeah.
you want to see the
The one that kind of shows the starting and end point. Yeah. I mean, is it customary for school districts to have to pay for like a mile of road? I mean, how much of the road front is actually the school?
I'd have to get you a measurement, but it's, under 2,000 feet, as I recall, across this span right here. Is it customary? No. Has it happened? Yes. I mean, this district had to put in Northside Boulevard, which is approximately a mile, when we opened Medellin Elementary and Middle, as a secondary outlet to Jenny Lane. And there are other districts across the state that are in high density, high growth areas that are experiencing similar situations, because if you can just look at this particular area right here and the density of the development, it's very hard to find land in those areas. And so when you do, you have to do some work to mitigate traffic issues.
And so you said that that we'll be adding like the third, like the center optional turn lane. And so that's going to benefit not only our school and the people that flow through there every day, but also all of the subdivisions and the businesses and other groups that are on that stretch of road. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would be a 24/7, 365 road for sure.
Okay, thank you.
But what would have really benefited them is if we didn't put the school on that road to begin with, and if we found another piece of land. I even have emails that I sent in FOIA requests to the State Department of Education, and there's internal communication inside the State Department of the Department of Transportation, where there are concerns inside the Department of Transportation with the school site.
Mr. Salters, did you receive any concerns from the
We
DOT?
worked with the SCDOT and mitigated any concerns they had. And again, Ms. Garris, we looked at every piece of land in this area and reviewed them with the board, and basically we had this as an option. We have to build schools where the children are, and you were involved in that process. So, I would just tell you that it would be great to not have to have put a school on that road, but the school where it is now has 3 or 4 times the traffic that road does. And so, it's what we had available to choose from.
Not to be repetitive, Mr. Salters, but tell us again why we have these contingency funds. How'd we come about those? Was it,
Yes, Mr.
local?
Oswald, it's a result of 2 things, really. It's a favorable bond market that we entered into with our referendum sales, good planning on the part of the board and the financial advisors, and also our outstanding credit rating. That's obviously done each year, and each time we do a bond sale independently by Moody's and Standard & Poor's. I'm sure you've heard of those institutions. They're nationally recognized for credit analysis.
And what was the total that we received in premium bond?
To date, we've got $22.7 million.
Okay.
All right, board, are there any other questions for Mr. Salters? All right, Dr. Powers, would you mind rereading the motion that's on the table for us?
So the motion read, I move that the board increase the budget for the new Lexington Middle School replacement facility by $5 million, from $53 million to $58 million for the off-site road improvements on Old Cherokee Road required by the South Carolina Department of Transportation and the Office of School Facilities at the South Carolina Department of Education. This will be funded using 2018 referendum bond premium funds.
Thank you. All right, board, we have the motion on the table. All in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you very much. Would like to mention to you that during executive session, the board did receive legal advice concerning a pending claim in the case of Alvin Berry versus Lexington County School District One. This was for information only and no action is required.